Hello everybody, I'm Dr. Tim Loreman, President and Vice Chancellor of Concordia University of Edmonton, and this is the monthly update for November. That song is Australian Ben Lee's song from quite a few years ago now, Catch My Disease, which seems appropriate. Well, it's been a really long month for all of us. We're thankfully back on campus, but over the past month, 2 mandatory vaccination deadlines have passed, and they've served to make our campus a much safer place to work and study. We have one more coming up next week. After November 7, we stop accepting rapid tests, and you can be confident that those who you see on campus are fully vaccinated, and that means that the full 2 weeks has elapsed since their final dose of the COVID-19 vaccine. So moving forward, all new students will need to provide proof of vaccination to be admitted to our university, and it also remains a condition of employment. And we lost approximately 60 students as a result of our vaccination policy, and it's been enforced for employees as well. About half of those students withdrew of their own accord, and about the other half had to be removed by us. And that has certainly been unpleasant work, but necessary. In order to follow the Government of Alberta COVID restrictions, we faced 2 choices. The first one was to stay online, which of course would have been wildly unpopular, unnecessary, and really not in our long-term interests. The other option, of course, was to develop the mandatory vaccination policy, which was consistent with government restrictions, and to resume our face-to-face teaching and learning. And we obviously chose the latter, and I'm really glad that we did. I have come under some criticism for enforcing the policy too rigorously, and I don't apologise for that. A mandatory vaccination policy makes no sense if we make a whole bunch of exceptions because someone in our community doesn't like it or doesn't agree with it. COVID doesn't care if you don't like our policy, and it isn't a case of mandatory vaccination unless you don't want to. Mandatory means mandatory for all, and it has to be enforced. Besides, it's not legal to do otherwise. That said, I spent a lot of my time this past month working with people who resist the policy, and I need to consistently remind myself that the overwhelming majority of us are glad to have this policy. We're pleased that the people around us are vaccinated. We're happy to be vaccinated ourselves. We're proud that in doing so, we've shown care and regard for other people. It's really that simple. So thank you so much to all of us who are continuing at Concordia and who are doing what we can to reduce chaos and death in the midst of this pandemic by being vaccinated. Unfortunately, vaccination doesn't solve all of our problems as we remain on campus. The law says we must wear masks, and I still find myself having to remind people to put their mask on in Tegla and the Glass Lounge. We must also try to physically distance as much as we possibly can. I'm glad that our athletes are back to training and competing, although without spectators. You can still watch games and support them by going to acactv.ca, and the games are all streamed there. So that's it's not as good as being there in person, of course, but it is a nice way to support our athletes. They are disappointed at not being able to compete in nationals if they make it, but it's a decision I felt was and is necessary. I do feel bad for our fine arts students who are currently not allowed to put on public performances. Please know that I am doing what I can to change that, but at the moment that's the law and we must operate within those confines. I must also thank Andrew Stern and our entire security team. They've had the toughest job of anyone this month, and they've been acting on my instructions to only allow people in who are compliant with the policy. Of course, people don't like to be told they're not allowed on campus, and the security folks have had to put up with a lot of abuse. And because they're not robots, they have made some mistakes. I myself made some mistakes on our first morning of swiping in on October 4. I incorrectly turned people away, and I wrote the policy. Overall, our security team have been compassionate, kind, and have resolved challenges and corrected the small number of errors graciously. So thank you to Andrew and the team. You've kept us all safe. So this is yet another monthly update dominated by COVID. We are going to get out of this, and I hope sooner rather than later. Please continue to abide by the restrictions in place. It'll get us there faster. Take care, and I'll see you again soon.